This is WCBA.TV, Colonel Oscar Poole speaking, and I have with me here in Dawsonville, Georgia today, September the 29th, 2010, a very special guest, as many of you know, Al Gainey. Welcome to the show, Al Gainey.
Thank you, Oscar. It's a pleasure to be with you today, and we're out here in Dawsonville just trying to have a good afternoon together, and it's working out extremely well.
And would you believe where we've been? Tell them.
Where have we been? We have been in a barbecue hut called Dogs and Hogs Barbecue in Dawsonville.
And I made friends in a hurry with that waitress, right?
Yeah, you didn't buy any food. She loved you anyway. I mean, that was the great part.
All right. We're here today to promote the Al Gainey Army. Al, Joe McCutcheon, and I are trying to make you the #1 talk show host in the world, and that's a big job.
It's a huge job because you haven't got much to work with, Oscar, but we're working on it, and we talked here over a glass of tea that it's important that everybody be willing, that we be willing to take constructive criticism, which is going to really be a part of what we do, because that's how we're going to improve every day.
Well, really, Joe McCutcheon and I, from our hearts, we are promoting you here and there, worldwide.
Well, that's a challenge, I know, but you know what? We can do it. We can do it, Oscar.
I just got back from Europe on Saturday, 3 days ago or 4 days ago, something like that, and I'm still tired from jet lag, but we broadcast live on your station twice from England and France. I'll tell more about that in just a moment. But now, let's tell the people now what we're doing. We are broadcasting, or you are, on WDUN, AM and FM.
Right, that's correct. That is exactly right. AM and FM, WDUN AM 550 and WDUN FM at 102.9.
Say it again.
It's AM 550 AM and 102.9 FM.
Good. And also, are you still doing WDUN.com?
WDUN.com, yes, you can go there, and you can listen live there, or you can go to www.algainey.com, and you can also listen live there as well.
What about that TV part?
Yeah, that's something brand new, and that's actually going to go into effect in a few days. But actually, right now, Oscar, we're broadcasting live on WDUN TV, and you can get that by going to www.algainey.com, or you can go to accessnorthga.com. Click on the little blue button that says Access TV, and you'll be able to see us.
So you really are already on worldwide radio and TV.
Oh, that's exactly right, and that's what's so neat about technology these days, that you can just cut on your computer and you can see us live right there.
Let me give you an example about that. I was just in England, France, and Switzerland, but in Bath, England, we called in to WDUN, and we were listening on WDUN.com. Greg and my wife Edna and the family there inside the house listening, as Paul, Greg's good friend of university days, and I were calling you on the cell phone 4,000 miles away, and they could hear it on WDUN.com just as clear as a bell, as if they were in the same room.
And that's why we're going to go worldwide. It's going to take a while, but we're getting the word out all over, because the internet is such a wonderful tool to do so much, and it does work, and you're a perfect example of that.
We just did the same thing in Dijon, France, with John Mark, and I know John Mark will be listening to this. I know he will. He'll hear this. You want to say a word to John Mark?
John Mark, listen, I am an admirer of you. You're an entrepreneur. You've done so much for not only your city but your whole country. You are a perfect example of what we should be here in America, and I appreciate what you're doing, and I look forward to meeting you personally one day.
We did the same thing at his house. We were on the outside and they were on the inside listening, as I say, to WDUN.com, and we had a wonderful time. We just enjoyed that so much, and I appreciate John Mark and Paul and his family and both families listening to this program. Now, why are we doing this? Why? You mentioned about technology, the internet, but the talk show, talk radio, and now TV, as you mentioned, but talk radio is the conservatives' tool.
Well, it is a conservatives' tool, and it's amazing that Air America, which was the liberals' tool, never worked out because people want to hear the truth, and the truth is not in the liberals' mouth and in their heads and in their hearts. What you really got to look at is what is really being said, and is it unbiased, or at least is it the truth? And that's where we are.
I say amen to that. And as I told you a few minutes ago, I was in London and Paris in the Marriott Hotel, which is a highbrow hotel, and owned by a good Mormon family, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. But that's okay. That's all right.
Well, sure it is.
Their beds sleep well. Their beds sleep really well.
Oh, you better believe that. We had a whole suite in Paris.
Very good.
Whole suite, and not in London. We had just a room, just a Marriott room.
Yeah. But the Marriott's great. I'm telling you, I sleep in those a lot of times.
The point I want to make is that we could not get Fox News at either Marriott, nor at Paul Selly's house, nor John Mark's house, and the only TV we got from America was the liberal CNN and CNBC, and we could not get Fox. Now, I assume that some folks do, but wherever I talked, the point is, I want to make is the Europeans are not, at least the travelers, are not getting the both sides of an issue. They're only getting the liberal side, and say a word about that.
You know, part of the show that I'm involved in, the Al Gainey Show, and you know the reason I'm doing it is I want both sides to be heard, and so a couple of days a week I have a liberal on just to be able to help the listener understand what the other side's thinking. You got to keep your enemies close to you.
So you give both sides?
Oh, I absolutely try to. And people say, well, you're just a Republican. I am not a Republican. I beat on Republicans. I beat on Democrats. I beat on whoever I need to beat on.
Well, along that line, I've just written a new book, and I gave you a copy of it. In fact, I dedicated that book to you, right?
Yeah, you did, Oscar, and that was quite an honor. It's a humbling experience when somebody has my name in a book.
I want to say a word, too, in promotion of that book while I've got you on the show today. The strength of that book, I think, is we have a copy of the Constitution in it, and also in one chapter I reviewed Saul Alinsky's book, Rules for Radicals, and most Americans never heard of Saul Alinsky, but I came into contact with that garbage some years ago at a retreat I went to in Toccoa, Georgia, and I was disdained then. Now, Saul Alinsky is from Chicago, and his book, Rules for Radicals, I put on my website, in my book.
In the book. Yeah.
Not website. And he is a basis for what's going on in Washington, D.C. right now.
Yeah, in fact, our President Barack Obama was brought up under Rules for Radicals. He studied it. He knows Saul Alinsky. He studied with Saul Alinsky. And he is using those tenets in that book to move America from where it needs to be, a bastion of freedom and capitalism, to a bastion of socialism, and he's moving us there very rapidly.
Now, on your program, on the Al Gainey Show, we're trying to change the direction of our country.
Yeah, and my tagline is fighting for the next generation, Oscar. And I think people, if they'll think about this, it's all about the next generation. We're leaving a legacy of debt. We're leaving a legacy of socialism that we don't need in this country, and that's why we're doing this show and why we're going to continue to promote it.
Well, that's why I am involved with you, and I call in now and then, and sometimes mostly then.
But I love it when you call in, Oscar, like I love when anyone calls in. All the listeners are welcome to call into the show and anytime, and we want to hear from you because we are listening, and we hope we can have something to offer, and we know that we do because people tell us that.
I'm not sure we gave the time frame for the program.
All right, the time frame will be 8:30 to 10:30 on WDUN AM 550, and we want you to go there or go to algainey.com, and you can listen live there as well.
Also on the other station too, 102.9.
Absolutely, I failed to remember that. 102.9 FM. That's something new for us. We are taking that station to a talk radio station from music, and it's going to be very interesting. And it will cover. I'm just thankful to be on two different stations right now.
I hope all my friends, both of them. Yeah. I often say, do me a favor, tell all my friends, both of them, hello.
That's great.
I hope all of you friends of mine, which I have many, will call in the station. And what number should they call?
The best thing, 1-800-552-9386. That's 1-800-552-WDUN.
Or they can Google WDUN and get that your station.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Oscar. They can do that, and that'll work well.
Now, you said why we're doing this for our children and grandchildren, and I say amen to that from my heart, and that's what Joe McCutcheon always says for his children and grandchildren. And isn't it wonderful to have Joe McCutcheon as our friend?
Joe McCutcheon is my biggest cheerleader, and he has actually done more for my show than I could ever repay him for or whatever, but he's been a number one cheerleader, I'll tell you that.
Well, Al, tell me a few of the people who have been on your program.
All right, we've had Grover Norquist, and a lot of folks I'm sure know Grover Norquist. Steve Forbes, you absolutely know Steve Forbes. We've had Steve Moore there, Wall Street Journal. Steve Moore, obviously, back to Steve Forbes. He's written books. That's Forbes magazine. And we've had Newt Gingrich, Tom Graves, Tom Price, all the congressmen in Georgia for sure. Phil Gingrich. We've had Mike Pence in there too. Mike Pence is probably going to be a strong candidate for president in 2012.
And you've already mentioned you have a liberal on there, as part of the time to give both sides. And how do you feel about the Tea Party?
Man, I think the Tea Party is reshaping the American political scene, Oscar. I do know that there's so many people in that organization around the country right now that it is going to be awesome to see what happens in November and then the years from there.
Well, Al, I appreciate you and your lovely wife, Ann. She has a part on your program, too.
Oh, yeah. She does a segment called Fight for the Family, and that's family issues mainly from a Christian perspective, and we also try to point out where things are lacking in our society. Mainly, it's God being taken out of society, and that's where the family's breaking down, but our job is to bring it back.
So, friends, you have heard from the mouth from Al Gainey himself.
Boy, that's tough.
Here on this program of WCBA.TV. And also, I want to, about my book, call me I said, don't call me a Democrat. This fits right into what you were saying a few minutes ago. Don't call me a Democrat. Don't call me a Republican. Don't call me a Libertarian. But call me a statesman.
Amen. And that's the name of the book, and that's why we're here. We don't want to be partisan. We just want to be statesmen about everything that we do going forward.
All right. You've been listening to Al Gainey from the Al Gainey Show, which can be heard live on WDUN AM and FM, and also 102.9 FM.
Right.
And you're on Mondays through Fridays, and that's from 8:30 a.m. until 10.
8:30 to 10. And let me mention, we forgot to mention, Oscar, the Saturday program from 10 to 12 on WDUN FM 102.9.
Well, thank you, Al, for being on my show today. It's been a privilege, and folks, I think you will agree with me. It has been an eye-opening experience to hear Al Gainey himself on WCBA.TV. Colonel Oscar Poole speaking.